best quotes of all time, where the greatest quotes on the planet become your superpower.
Many desires lead to many afflictions. Those who know contentment have a peaceful mind. Shunmyyo Masuno. A single drop of clear water falls onto the rippling surface of the lake in modern life, causing us to pause in silence and reflect upon ourselves. Desire, in itself, is not inherently bad, for it is the driving force that propels people to strive, dream, and act. But when desire swells like an uncontrolled flame, it will burn away the peace in the soul, turning each unfulfilled longing into a sharp thorn of affliction. In that state, people are like those who quench their thirst with salt water. The more they drink, the thirstier they become. The more they have, the more they crave, leaving their minds constantly tense, uneasy, comparative, and exhausted. On the contrary, knowing contentment is not about giving up or rejecting dreams, but an awakened attitude toward what one already possesses. The ability to stop at the right moment, to smile at the present. Those who know contentment are like someone sitting under a cool shade tree, without needing to chase the glaring sun outside, yet still feeling just the right warmth and light. When we cherish a simple meal, small joys, and sincere relationships, the soul naturally lightens, like setting down a heavy burden after a long journey. Afflictions do not disappear because life becomes more perfect, but because the heart has stopped demanding too much. In that state, the mind becomes vast like the sky after a rain, spacious enough to embrace lacks and abundances, gains and losses, and serene enough to sense happiness quietly blooming in every ordinary moment. The path to happiness. Don't let hatred invade your heart. Anxiety invade your mind. Live simply. Expect little. Give much. Spread sunshine. Forget yourself. Think of others. Try that for a week, and you'll be surprised. Vincent Peale. Dark clouds silently gather, obscuring the light that is already within us. When the heart is occupied by resentment, it becomes narrow and heavy. When the mind is besieged by anxiety, every thought is tinged with unease, making us weary before we've even begun to live. Therefore, living simply and expecting little is not about abandoning dreams, but about removing unnecessary burdens, like a traveler who discards excess luggage to walk more lightly. Giving much is a beautiful paradox. The more love we give away, the more warmth we receive. For kindness is like a flame that doesn't extinguish when shared, but instead spreads and warms both giver and receiver. Spread sunshine, a life wide open, where we carry warmth, optimism, and kindness to touch others' lives, even if just with a smile or a small gesture of care. When we forget ourselves to think of others, the ego shrinks, making room for empathy and connection, and in that very moment, happiness quietly sprouts. The invitation to try that for a week is like a gentle experiment with our own soul. Just 7 days of letting go of hatred, reducing anxiety, living slower, and loving more, and we'll be surprised to realize that happiness isn't far away, but has been there all along, waiting for us to open our hearts to feel it. There is nothing more beautiful than living a simple life in this complex universe. Mehmet Murat İldan. The universe around us operates by vast laws, full of changes and hard to grasp. Humans are also swept into it with countless roles, expectations, ambitions, and overlapping worries. In that flow, simplicity is not poverty or narrowing life, but a conscious choice. Choosing to keep what is truly essential for the soul and letting go of things that only add confusion. Living simply is like cleaning a room full of clutter. When you remove the excess, the space suddenly becomes airy, light floods in, and you finally have room to breathe, to to rest, to live fully. Those who live simply don't chase every call from out there. Don't let themselves be torn apart by comparisons and competitions. They eat a meal with gratitude, do a job with focus, love a person with sincerity. In that simplicity, beauty emerges naturally, like a wildflower blooming by the roadside, unpretentious yet compelling passersby to pause. Amid a complex universe where everything seems to demand us to be more, faster, better, living slower, with less but deeper, is a rare beauty. It is the beauty of harmony, when humans don't try to resist the world's complexity, but choose to keep their inner self clear and serene, so that no matter how the universe spins, we can still smile and walk on peacefully. Mindset is the most important factor in your life. How you think will determine how your life turns out. Harv Eker. The invisible glasses we wear every day. The same world, the same circumstances, but the colors of life appear completely different depending on how we look. When the mind is accustomed to negative thinking, difficulties become walls, failures turn into sentences, and every event is a burden on the shoulders. But when the mindset opens positively and mindfully, difficulties become lessons, failures become experiences, and adversities turn into opportunities for growth. Life is not entirely determined by what happens to us, but by how we interpret those things in our minds. A person with a scarcity mindset will always feel insufficient, even if they possess a lot, while someone with a grateful mindset finds abundance even in the simplest things. Mindset is like soil for sowing seeds. If the soil is full of weeds of fear, doubt, and resentment, hope seeds can hardly sprout. But if we patiently clear and cultivate with understanding, tolerance, and faith, the good seeds will quietly grow, forming a garden of peace in the soul. Changing mindset is not an overnight affair, but a process of training. Each small thought, each reaction to life. When we learn to think deeper instead of hastily, broader instead of narrowly, positive but not delusional, life gradually shifts toward lightness and greater meaning. It is the mindset that steers, and where our life heads depends greatly on that invisible hand. Creativity is a journey, not a destination. Twyla Tharp. Creativity doesn't reside neatly in the moment of completing a work, achieving a milestone, or receiving recognition, but exists throughout the process of exploring, experimenting, erring, and then rising to continue. Conversely, when understanding creativity as a journey, every idea that arises, every trial and error, every moment of pondering becomes valuable, not wasted or denied. A flowing river. It doesn't need to know which sea it will empty into, just needs to keep moving, carrying the silt of experiences, emotions, and reflections. In that flow, people learn patience with themselves, accept imperfection, and allow themselves to grow through small steps. The most beautiful thing about the creative journey isn't the endpoint, but the inner transformation. From confusion to clarity, from timidity to daring, from imitation to a unique voice. When we stop obsessing over results and open up to the process, creativity ceases to be pressure to make something great, but becomes the joy of living, a way to be fully present with the world and ourselves. And on that journey without end, we realize that creativity, ultimately, is a way for humans to continually explore themselves in every living moment.